Imagine this for a moment. Close your eyes and picture yourself as a prince. You live in a beautiful palace. Everyone in the kingdom loves you. You've spent your whole life training for one goal. And finally, that moment is here. Tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow you are going to be crowned the king. You can hear the people celebrating in the streets. You can see the decorations. You feel the excitement in the air. But then, suddenly, everything changes. Your father, the king, calls you into his private room. You expect to see him smiling and proud. Instead, you find him with tears streaming down his face. He looks broken. He tells you that because of a very old promise he made long ago, things cannot go as planned. He tells you that you cannot be king. In fact, it's much harder than that. You have to leave your home, leave your family, and go live in the deep wild forest for 14 years. Now, I want you to really think about that. What would you do? Would you get angry? Would you shout that it isn't fair? Would you cry and beg to stay? Most of us probably would. But this is the exact moment that defines one of the most famous stories in history, the story of Prince Rama. In the story of the Ramayana, King Dashrath was absolutely heartbroken. He loved his son Rama so much that the idea of him leaving was like a physical pain in his heart. The king was so desperate to keep his son that he actually said something shocking. He looked at Rama and said, "Rama, please, don't listen to me. I am under a spell of sadness. I am not thinking straight. Just do this. Put me in jail. Take over the kingdom by force. Just stay here with me. I would rather be a prisoner than have you leave me." Can you imagine that? A powerful king asking his own son to lock him up in a dungeon just so they wouldn't have to be apart. That is how much he loved Rama. But Rama was no ordinary prince. He didn't get angry and he didn't grab the crown. Instead, he looked at his father and smiled gently. Rama knew something very important. He knew that if he stayed and took the throne, the world would look at King Dashrath as a liar. People would say the king broke his word and failed to keep his promise. Rama told his father, "Father, I don't want to be king if it means you have to break your word. I want the whole world to remember you as the king who always told the truth even when it was the hardest thing in the world to do." Rama wasn't going to the forest because he was being punished. He chose to go because he wanted to protect his father's honor. He wanted his father to be a hero of truth. If you could see the scene of Rama's final goodbye, it would break your heart. The palace, which was supposed to be filled with music, was filled with the sound of weeping. King Dashrath was so overwhelmed with grief that he fainted on his couch. The queens and the ministers, everyone was crying. They felt like the light was leaving the city. And in the middle of all this chaos and sadness, there was Rama. Even though everyone around him was falling apart, Rama stayed calm. He wasn't cold or unfeeling. He just had a deep peace inside him. He knew with total certainty that he was doing the right thing. He traded a golden throne for a life under the trees, all for the sake of a promise. So, as we listen to the story today, what can we take away from it? It teaches us two very big lessons that we can use in our own lives. First, the power of your word. In our world today, it's easy to make excuses or break a promise when things get difficult. But this story shows us that keeping your word is one of the most important things a person can do. It is the foundation of who you are. And second, it teaches us about true bravery. When we think of heroes, we usually think of people fighting monsters or winning battles. But Rama shows us that sometimes being brave means doing the right thing even when it makes you incredibly sad. Real strength is staying calm and doing your duty even when your heart is heavy. So, I leave you with this question to think about today. If you were standing in that palace and you had to choose between a kingdom of gold or the simple truth, what would you choose? Would you choose the kingdom or would you choose the truth? Thank you for listening.